Hello YouTubers, RogueMonkeyJr here, and in today's video we're going to talk about the gunplay mechanics in Battlefield 5. So what I want to cover is the things that have changed and have been improved a little bit because they weren't explained a lot, as I said in a lot of previous videos, during the Battlefield 5 reveal. So we're gonna get stuck right into this. So the first thing that is of note for gunplay is there is no more visual recoil. You're gonna shoot where your gun points. So if your gun is pointing at a certain area, there will be no more random bullet deviation. It's going to go where the gun is actually pointing, and of course the only way for the bullet to deviate is with recoil. So if you can't control your recoil properly, then the bullets will then go all over the place, as opposed to before, where even if your gun was on target and you were controlling the recoil, which was very minimal in Battlefield 1, your bullets still might miss the target. So next one, each gun has a unique recoil pattern. So this means that, much like CSGO, the bullet recoil pattern for each weapon will be able to be learned. So the more you play with the weapon, the more subconsciously your muscles are going to get used to compensating for that specific recoil pattern, and the better you will get with that specific weapon. So the longer you use the weapon, the more you know that bullet recoil pattern, the better you'll be able to control it and put bullets on your target, as opposed to all over the place, which is a big step up from Battlefield 1, which had, or generally most Battlefield games, didn't have predictable recoil patterns. They didn't have specific patterns. They basically had a pull to the left, a pull to the right, and a pull up vertically to give you that recoil, and there wasn't really a specific set of, for example, centimeters or millimeters that it would move to the right, then to the left, then up. It would always be all over the place, and it was also the first shot recoil multiplier that you need to take into account. So it's going to be a lot more of a daunting thing to learn the recoil pattern of each individual weapon, but down the line, if you play with the same weapon for long enough, you're probably going to be pretty damn good with it. Next one, bipods are now easier to set up, so no more like trying to swing your bipod down on a windowsill and it not really working, or on a rock, or generally bipods were kind of a pain in the ass, except of course when laying down, then that wasn't an issue at all, but that's a good change nonetheless. Next, which is very, very important and very different from previous Battlefield titles, bullet penetration. Yes, bullets will now go through certain materials like wood, sheet metal walls, and larger caliber weapons will penetrate thicker and denser materials. That is crazy, the amount of depth to gunplay that this will probably add, because if somebody's camping behind cover and you know your weapon can actually penetrate that cover with your weapon, your caliber, your bullet caliber, then you get able to like wallbang him. And that is quite interesting, as it gives you a reason to pick higher caliber weapons, even if, for example, they have maybe a slower rate of fire or something like that, but they can shoot through certain materials. That is a huge advantage, and I think it's really going to make a difference. Now, of course, it all needs to be balanced properly. You can't just start spraying down into a building all the time to try and get cheap kills through walls, so I guess we'll have to see proper gameplay of this, of the bullet penetration, and how it really functions, and does it mitigate the damage of the bullet when it goes through a certain specific type of material. For example, if your bullet penetrates a wall, okay, a wall that's maybe 8 inches thick, does it mitigate the amount of damage that it does to the enemy on the other side, or does it still do full damage? So that's something to keep in mind that we'll probably see with some proper multiplayer gameplay at EA Play. Next, grenades. So this isn't really gunplay, but more of a mechanic, but it has to do with gunplay nonetheless. You can now throw back grenades, which is awesome. I always loved the fact that you could throw back grenades in certain games, notably Call of Duty. It was always good if you had that fast reaction. You could save yourself a death by throwing back the grenade at them, and maybe in turn give them a taste of their own medicine. Something else that is interesting is they do not detonate as fast as in BF1. Now, there's no specifics here. Generally speaking, in Battlefield 1, all grenades function like impact grenades. So as soon as the grenade, no matter what type, hit a horizontal surface, the detonation timer would then start. So the only thing that would differ between the grenades is the amount of time it took after hitting a horizontal surface to then detonate, making every grenade an impact grenade, as opposed to Battlefield 4, for example, it was a fuse time. So as soon as the grenade left your hand, you had, like, for example, for the standard grenade, something like 4 seconds before the grenade blew up. So if you tossed it too high, it would blow up in the air. And that was the impact grenade mentality of Battlefield 1 is just a poor way of like having grenades function, because like all grenades function as impact grenades, and it's not really ideal. You want that fuse time to, if you want to calculate, okay, I have to throw it this distance, and if it falls there, it'll probably blow up on impact. It makes grenades a little bit more tactical having the actual fuse times as opposed to having every grenade be an impact grenade. So I think that that's how they will implement them in Battlefield 5, but there's no specifics on that. Another thing that's interesting, you can shoot grenades. So that is absolutely crazy. If somebody tosses a grenade, you can shoot it midair. I don't know how quick you're going to need to be to shoot a grenade midair, but in the trailer you see the soldier do it to a plane that's flying by. So I think it's going to be pretty crazy. Next, the sweet spot for snipers no longer exists. That has been eradicated. We're going to go back to something probably like 100 damage within a certain amount of range, for example 10 meters, 15 meters, and then after that you'll have to get a headshot to get a one-shot kill on your target. So there's no more ideal distance, there's no more range in which the weapon does 100 damage, so that's all gone. So we're back to sniping like Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4, which is good in my opinion. I was never a fan of the sweet spot, so we're going back to a little bit more tactical and skilled sniping. And finally, I'm not surprised here, but the bayonet charging still exists. So another thing I was never a fan of, bayonet charging. At first, it was absolutely cheap and disgusting. You could just do a 180 on somebody and just bayonet charge them. It was ridiculous. And they tried to balance it. I still feel like it's a pretty cheap tactic and technique, but I mean, hey, I don't blame people who use it. I mean, it's there, and use it if you must. But however, in Battlefield 5, the bayonet's going to take up a gadget slot, so that is something that you're really going to have to weigh the pros and the cons of having a bayonet as opposed to not having one. Unlike Battlefield 1, where it was just a weapon customization, so there wasn't really a lot of cons to having a bayonet. But in Battlefield 5, it's going to take up a gadget slot, so it's going to be a, you know, think it through before equipping a bayonet and maybe losing a potential very, very important gadget for that bayonet. So that does it for the gunplay mechanics that they changed and redid or added to Battlefield 5. I hope I cleared everything up a little bit more and showed you that the gunplay is going to be a lot different than previous titles in Battlefield 5. Let me know in the comments down below if you are worried about any of these gun mechanics, if you are excited for some of them, what you hated in Battlefield 1 as a gun mechanic. Let me know all that in the comments down below. I would love to read your thoughts. While you're down there, be sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I release Battlefield and first-person shooter-related content pretty much every day. And as always, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.